Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I think Tesla may have some extreme business plan restructuring to do. Right now at Tesla, financial reports are being prepared, market research is being conducted, marketing plans are being rewritten, econometrics models are being calculated, pricing strategies are being worked through, and a whole lot else. The biggest thing in the EV industry is about to happen. The US are going to introduce EV tax credits. There may be some minor alterations, but the inference of the bill has been set in place, at least enough for us to get a good understanding of what it will mean. When government pass such major bills, it always has a dramatic impact on industries. Make no mistake, this is going to be huge for Tesla, although someone might want to tell Wall Street. Oh wait, actually, don't tell them. I'm still trying to buy up some extra leaps. The fact that Tesla's customers will be able to buy a Tesla for $10,000 less is a huge deal. One problem Tesla will face with this is that they've already set all their prices. Therefore, they can't easily increase their prices without looking like price gouging. Instead, they will subtly increase them, but not to their full advantage. Except the thing is, there is one car that they have not yet launched and have not yet set the price for, the Model 2. Yes, Tesla have mentioned they will eventually start at $25,000, but that doesn't mean that much in the scheme of things. That's more an eventual target of how low they'd like to get them down to. If you recall, when Tesla first unveiled the Model 3, we were told of a starting price of $35,000. Now, whilst Tesla did officially offer this price, and likely could still generate a gross profit on each model of them sold, it simply wasn't necessary. There was so much demand for their standard range at $40,000, and they're so supply constrained, it just makes sense to price closer to the market clearing price, where supply meets demand. In other words, even without the tax credit, when the Model 2 was to launch, it would have been around $30,000 to $35,000 to start with, and possibly not come down to the $25,000 price point for years after that. The thing is, when you remove a $10,000 tax credit from $30,000 to $35,000, then you're at $20,000 to $25,000 for the consumer. In other words, consumers will only have to pay around $25,000 for the entry-level Model 2. Yet, Tesla would receive $35,000 for each Model 2 sold. Now, if Tesla were capable of making a profit on a $35,000 Model 3 with 2170 batteries, no gigapress, and a whole lot less experience and other cost-saving techniques they've discovered since, then what kind of profit would they generate from 4680 LFP batteries, gigacasting, structural battery design, octavalves, economies of scale of so many extra units, and everything else? I would say it possible that Tesla could get the cost of goods sold down to $20,000 per unit within a short enough time period. Now, if they get $15,000 profit per vehicle, that's absolutely insane. Oh, and remember the quantity we're talking about. They could get a factory doing 5 million units a year, and every car would sell. Who in their right mind would not be willing to spend $25,000 on a brand new Tesla? Let's break this down further. Drivers also spend an average of around $1,600 a year on fuel and $750 a year on maintenance, costs that are not associated with an EV. Okay, there'll still be charging costs, but that's only going to be around $200 or $300 a year with a Model 2. Teslas barely even go through brake pads, let alone engine oil. Anyway, let's guesstimate the annual running cost is about $2,000 less a year. After 5 years, that's another $10,000 saved, meaning the cars cost about $15,000 relative to any ICE car after 5 years of ownership. The main cost is depreciation though, and the Model 2 will be the least depreciating car we've ever seen, save perhaps the Cybertruck, as the waiting list of those will be ridiculous, that as soon as anyone receives one, they will instantly be worth more. In other words, when you factor in depreciation, the cost of a Model 2 is something like negative $5,000 when compared to an ICE equivalent. Do you understand that? I'm not saying that the cost is $5,000 less than an ICE equivalent. I'm saying that the cost equivalent for an ICE competitor would mean that they would have to pay you $5,000 to take it to break even on cost of ownership. That's how cheap the Model 2 is. There is no car on the planet that can beat it in price. This is what disruption looks like. Hence why Tesla could quite easily sell 5 million units a year. The sales for autos would increase so much as a result. People wouldn't be buying a Model 2 because they need a new car. They're simply going to be letting go of their ICE cars because the new technology is here. A lot of consumers didn't move from a flip phone to an iPhone because it was time for a new phone. No, the future arrived and they wanted it. Well, this would make the future of EVs that much more affordable for car consumers. However, it's not quite that simple. There are economics involved here. If Tesla go for numbers, then too many EVs will be sold. For example, if Tesla are doing 3 million a year from Texas and Fremont, and suddenly 5 million from Model 2 as well, then that's 8 million cars. That's pretty much half of all cars sold in the US, as in 50% market share for EVs, which would potentially automatically start the phasing out of the EV tax credit much earlier than anticipated. I guess Tesla need to decide on what is most profitable for them. Is it best to milk the tax credit for as long as possible with their higher end models, or take advantage of it whilst it's available and exhaust it that much faster? This is a first come, first served tax credit. The competition will be trying to get their new EVs out to take advantage of it as soon as possible, except it takes time. They need to design a new car and then put it into production, and EV manufacturing is not what they specialise in. Of course, there is the whole battery constraint issue on top of that, preventing them from doing any decent numbers. But there is still an initial 3 or so years until the models actually are ready. This is not an overnight thing. People say it's a tech industry, and perhaps it is, but it moves at the speed of a manufacturing industry. So what if Tesla were actually able to exhaust the EV credit within about 4 years to commence the phasing out stage? So by that time the competition actually enters the market and have created these models based on the expectation of $10,000 more profit, then the tax credit has been cut in half and on its way to be phased out completely. Once the credit has exhausted, Tesla can then drop the price of their Model 2 to $25,000, perhaps 5 years later after the credit started. There would have been 5 years of economies of scale in manufacturing the Model 2, not to mention all the further advances Tesla would have made by this stage in manufacturing, technology and batteries, meaning that Tesla can comfortably sell these Model 2s at $25,000, likely with a decent profit margin. In addition to that, by this stage, there is a good chance that FSD is feature complete, implying it's highly possible that most consumers would purchase FSD, and it might average an additional $5,000 to $10,000 pure profit onto every car sold, depending on what the price of FSD would be. Yes, robotaxi potential too, but I'd rather not get into that right now, as it's too speculative at this stage in my opinion. As long as Tesla have sorted out their battery supply, and these Model 2s will more than likely be using LFP, which means hopefully Tesla's created so many LFP 4680 battery factories that it's simply not an issue, then Tesla would likely build a Model 2 factory in China, but possibly a few years delayed. But by that stage, Tesla would have hit huge economies of scale and had a lot of experience manufacturing the Model 2 that the new factory in China would be even more efficient. Depending on the success, they may even build one in Europe. That used to be talked about before, that there'd actually be different types of Model 2s for different markets, one designed for Europeans and one designed for Asians. Compact cars are the most popular type of car sold in both continents. If each factory on each continent was producing 5 million Model 2s a year, then that would equate to nearly 1 in 5 cars sold in the world being a Model 2. You will often hear me saying that Model 2 will be the biggest selling car ever. I strongly believe that. Remember, when you do the math, it's the equivalent cost of an ICE car giving you $5,000. Even if you can't afford $20,000 to $25,000 on a car, you could likely put it on a mortgage and only pay, get this, about $500 a year on interest. That's $10 a week. Okay, there are some running costs, perhaps $5 or $10 on charging, but the main other cost will come from insurance. However, Tesla might have sorted this out too, and suddenly made car insurance that much more affordable. The actual cost of ownership of a Model 2 could be argued it will be around $20 to $30 a week. We haven't just undercut the cost of ICE transport, but we are now below the cost of public transport. And when I say public transport, I actually mean at its subsidized cost. The true cost is far higher. Berlin, Texas, and 4680 batteries will start the next stock cycle, taking Tesla to possibly trade between $1,500 and $2,000. The Model 2 will take it through the next cycle. That will take it to the largest company in the world. Tesla will have a lot to prove in Model 2 production numbers, but this tax credit makes it that much more feasible. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.